In 406, hordes of barbarians under the overall command of Radagais crossed the Rhine and invaded the Western Roman Empire. The invasion involved many tribes. The Germans attacked on several fronts, and while the Romans were repelling Radagais in Italy, north of the Alps, tribe after tribe penetrated the empire's interior provinces. One of these, a large barbarian alliance of Vandals, Suevians and Alans, was led by the Vandal king Radagais. Crossing the Great Rhine on the ice, the Vandals encountered the Franks, who as federates of the empire guarded this section of the border. Alas, Radagais died in an unfortunate clash for the Vandals, and only the Alans who came up saved the Vandals from complete defeat and extermination. The good deed will be returned in the future. In the future, the Alans, already defeated by the enemies, will join the Vandals and join their kingdom on equal rights. The invasion continued, and the throne of the king was taken by his only legitimate son, Gonderic. The new king's older brother, whose name was Gaiseric, was born of a concubine and could not claim the throne, but soon, as co-emperor, became second in influence after the king. According to the memoirs of contemporaries, Gaiseric, short in stature and lame because of a fall from a horse, secretive, a little speechless, despised luxury, stormy in anger, greedy for wealth, extremely far-sighted, 20 years hid in the shadow of his brother, under whose leadership the Vandals rampaged in Gaul and Spain until finally, driven by the Sueves and Goths in the Andalusian mountains, the Vandals again lost the king. The Vandals themselves claim that Gonderic was captured and staked by the Goths. Monks believe in the punishment of heaven for the destruction of a basilica in one of the plundered cities of Spain, and someone believes that by this time the authority of Gaiseric grew so much that he no longer doubted that the throne would go to him and dealt with his brother personally. Gaiseric, having accepted the crown, settled in southern Spain and began to quickly learn the profession of a pirate. Soon after a few trial raids on ships delivered to the barbarians with the capture of southern ports, he, having concluded a treaty with the rebellious Boniface, crosses into Africa only to begin to capture it for himself. The Goths, Franks, Burgundians, all of these tribes were given territory by treaty from the Roman Empire. Roman officials specified provinces to the Germans, in which they were allotted a third of the arable land and obliged to protect the territory from the enemies of the empire. Against the background of barbarians, striving hard to make friends with the administration of the stagnating empire, Vandals chose their own way. They simply took what they could reach. Strengthening his claim to the throne, the bastard Gaiseric soon destroyed the challengers. He drowned his brother's wife and killed his sons. Initial attempts to throw the Vandals into the sea from Africa failed due to the turmoil of civil war. Having made a treaty with Rome, the Vandals settled in the conquered territory, only to regroup, gather forces, and suddenly capture Carthage. The worst thing that could happen to the Roman Empire happened. The port of Carthage was home to virtually the entire merchant and military fleet of the West. In the hands of the Vandals was the bread trade, an instrument of blackmail and strangulation of any enemy in Europe in those years. Taking advantage of the absence of the enemy at sea and the already existing experience of robbery from ships, the Vandals began to carry terror to the entire coast of the Western Mediterranean. Fortune favors the bold and efficient. The first fleet of the Eastern Roman Empire, which also could not accept the loss of Africa, was defeated, which was a shock to Byzantium, which did not expect that the barbarians were able to resist at sea. The Vandals seized the strategic initiative and soon moved from plundering to seizing nearby islands and ports. Emperor Theodosius II began to prepare a full-scale war with Gaiseric, but, with the luck of the pirates, all his attention was diverted by the invasion of Attila the Hun. Not ready to face many threats, in Constantinople agreed to negotiate. According to the peace, which was then signed by the Romans, the Vandals got Sicily. Peace is peace, and pirate raids for war Vandals in general did not consider and continued annual campaigns in different corners of the sea, looking for poorly protected good. Several years passed, and in the western part of the empire, active Aetius was able to bring to submission the main provinces of the European part of the empire. The Vandals were again threatened, but Gaiseric's diplomacy worked wonders, and here Not without the help of our heroes' intrigues. Instead of a campaign in Africa, Aetius waged a heavy defensive war with Attila. 15 years have passed. The Vandals are still full masters of the Mediterranean Sea, the Boliar Islands, Sardinia, and Corsica. Everything is robbed and recognizes the power of the successful pirate. Rome's time is coming. The death of Aetius, the coup and murder of Valentinian, the dissolution of the engagement to the son of the Vandal king, the temporary loss of control over the army. All the news reaches the Vandals trading bread with all corners of the empire. The moment of truth arrives, and so the barbarians land near Rome. The city opens its gates. The emperor is killed. Pope Leo the Great begs for mercy for the Aryan inhabitants. 2 weeks of plunder and a triumphant return home. On the way back, only one ship sank, which was filled with stolen statues to decorate Carthage. For the rest of history, each new emperor of the western and eastern parts of the Roman Empire were continually busy trying to reclaim Africa. Alliances were made, flotillas were built, generals who successfully repelled Vandal raids were elevated and appointed generals. In the Vandal kingdom itself, Gaiseric crushed the rebellion of the nobility, which tried to preserve the democratic tribal structure of the country. Gaiseric concentrated power in his hands completely, holding the finances, dispersing the pro-Roman clergy dangerous to him, and returning them to the churches only after the king's authority was officially recognized in the empire. By distributing vast, looted latifundia, he secured the unquestioning loyalty of his soldiers. Gaiseric, who outlived all his kings, continued his plundering raids and renegotiated peace treaties in his old age. His son was married to the emperor's daughter. His fleet sank the Byzantine armada, plundered the Peloponnese, Spain, and Gaul, and even though he sold Sicily back to Rome, except for the strategic port of Marsala, he created and preserved a state. History's greatest pirate fell a little short of his 90th birthday, but still caught the fall of the last emperor of the Western Roman Empire. The cessation of grain shipments from Africa dealt Rome what is believed to have been a severe blow from which the empire never recovered. According to the law established by the king, power was passed to the eldest of his descendants. Thus, his eldest children were to rule first in turn, then all grandchildren in succession, and so on. Alas, such a system breeds bloody strife in the family, so that the kingdom of Vandals after the death of Gaiseric plunged into dynastic strife. Children of pirates lived in luxury, and as soon as the unbending will of Gaiseric stopped driving his subjects to new raids, the barbarians engaged in drunkenness and decadence. Already under the second king, Huneric, the Vandal raids on neighbors completely stopped.